Hello everyone. So I've grown my net worth to more than 8 crores. And in this video, I'm going to share everything that I've learned on this journey. Let's get started. The first thing is I started my journey early. I started making money at the age of 19. I started my first blog in 2009 and my real goal was to be independent. And I always wanted this independence of money, and I did not know about concepts such as financial freedom. I just saw my mom working hard. I have a single mother, so I decided that I'm going to make income, and I tracked my net worth every month since 2017. I'm going to share the lessons that I learned from 0 to 10 lakhs, 10 to 50 lakhs, 50 lakhs to 1 CR, 1 CR to 3 CR, and so forth. You can see a clear exponential growth here, which shows the effect of compounding. If you haven't watched the video on my channel, do watch the video of why net worth explodes after 1 CR, because this is an example of that principle. The next thing I do want to say is that tracking my net worth has really helped me. So you can see that since 2017, I've been tracking my net worth very regularly. So I've tracked my assets, my liabilities, and overall net worth. Net worth is what you stand for. This is what wealth is. It's not about how much money you make, but how much money you have at the end of the day. This does not include any of the equity that I could hold in a business, because that is not real net worth as per me. This is all money that I have in my investments, my index funds, my real estate, my gold, and so forth. So that's all my net worth. Of course, cash as well. I've often shown my holdings in other videos. I've often shown how I invest, and my present value of my investments is close to 5 CR, but that's only half the story. So in this video, I'm actually going to share the complete story. I'll also share the portfolio breakdown. So in terms of my equity investments, my top 3 holdings are just index funds: Midcap 150, Next 50, Nifty 50. And this really helps me cut out all the noise of the stock market, of influencers, how to invest, what to invest, which fund to pick, and so forth, because index investing simplifies everything on the investing side so that I can then focus on the revenue generation side. And if I don't want to focus on the revenue generation side, I can focus on my health, my family, things that really matter to me at this stage. And the last thing that I want to see is what the market is doing. So I'm really free of the market, and this is another form of freedom. It's not just about financial freedom, it's also about freedom from looking at all these charts. I really don't know on a day-to-day basis whether the market is going up or down. Despite having close to a 5 CR value in investments, I don't care about the market, and I think that's the beauty of index investing, and we're going to touch upon this topic as well as we go along this video. Okay, the next thing I do want to say is tracking my net worth every quarter has given me this visibility of how things have changed. So I will share a template of the net worth tracker that I've built, and I will put a link to this tracker template so you can also copy the same template and use it for yourself. So you'll have different tabs where you can enter all of your assets, all of your liabilities, and then you can calculate your net worth, which is simply your assets minus liabilities, and you can plot them on a timeline fashion so that you know how things are changing for you. So let's start with the definition. What is wealth and what is net worth? We are talking about net worth, so we need to define it first. First of all, income is not wealth. Your net worth is wealth. And this net worth, the way I define it, does not include any equity in business. So for example, millionaires, billionaires, they often talk about these super rich people. A lot of that net worth is in the form of equity that they own in their companies and business. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not the way that I want to track my net worth. So let's get started. This has been my journey and I'm very excited to share it with you. So the first phase, let's define it from 0 to 10 lakh rupees. And honestly, this has been the hardest phase so far. I mean, I never imagined how fast the subsequent crores are going to be and how hard the initial phase was, because getting started is the hardest. It's the slowest. It needs a lot of learning. This is the time I was freelancing and saving a lot of money. I didn't know how to make more. I knew that I needed to save and I needed to get whatever projects that I can so that I can learn and improve my skills. Because the most important equation of money is that money is created in exchange for the value that you can create for others. And value can be created only when you develop skills. So you learn, you develop skills, you create value, and you make money. There's no other way of making money. So if you're thinking about like shortcuts or some ways that you can make money without creating value for the other person or the other business, that's not going to work in the long term. So the important thing is to understand that money can only be created in exchange for value. So all of the income streams that I will talk about in this video have created value in some form or the other. My first project that generated income for me was my blog that I started in 2009. I was 19 back then. I was writing blog posts and I added Google Ads as the income stream. What was the value being created? It was the content that was in the blog, and the audience was coming and reading the content on my blog. In exchange for that, Google would pay me when someone clicks on the ad. So very simple. Google Ads started back in 2009. That was one of the main ways that you would generate income online. Of course, if I had to start all over again today, it's definitely not going to be a blog. I would do a specialist niche kind of services agency if I was starting out and I was still 19, let's say. But yeah, my first project in my case, times were different in 2009. SEO was the only way of online marketing and blogging was the way to create content. So that's what I did, right? I actually very recently, 2 years ago, sold this blog. I was keeping it as a memory because I was just emotional about it, but I was not working on it. I posted the listing on Flippa and a guy said, he can make something out of this blog. And I said, if it can go in the right hands, why not? So I just sold it for I would say, a very cheap price because for me, this was much more valuable. So around $5,000 is what I sold it for in 2023. But yeah, that's just a side note. So what happened? After that, I moved to Bangalore in 2014. I'm originally from a city called Bhopal in Madhya Pradesh. I was born and brought up in Delhi. I moved to Bangalore in 2014 because I knew I could get startup clients there. I grew my agency from 2014 to 2016 to around 20 employees. We were based in Kormangla, working with a lot of startups in Bangalore. Under the umbrella of websites, digital marketing, design, we had a lot of services that we offered. All of that was great, but I felt I was on a treadmill. There was a lot of clients that I was working with. I was hiring and firing people. It was somehow not the way that I wanted to build a business. So I decided to take a break 2016 to 2017. I did trainings, I did teach online, and I did a few workshops as well. But mostly in this 1 year, I decided to travel as many countries as possible. I did a backpacking trip across Europe and Southeast Asia. It was a great experience. I learned a lot. This was kind of the phase where I was trying to find myself. And of course, we worked with so many clients at Mapplinks between the period of 2014 to 2016, but I decided to kind of spend all of that money in this trip. 2017, I came back a new person and decided to shut down the Bangalore office, and I started working with international clients remotely. As you saw in my net worth tracker, I started with 10 lakh to 12 lakh rupees in 2017 after spending a lot of money in my travels. But this time I came back with a fresh approach. I was not going to hire full-time people. I was going to work with freelancers, part-time workers, and so forth. And I was not going to work with a lot of Indian clients. A few selective Indian clients, yes, but mostly international clients. So I wanted to tap into the geographical arbitrage of currency. And I started working remotely, and I was living mostly in Southeast Asia. And this really worked well for me, right? So that brings us to phase two, which was from 10 lakhs to 50 lakhs. And this phase, I would like to call it the clarity phase, because this is the time I got clarity on how I would like to build a business. Everyone is different. Some people like to build a startup where they can have very high upside, but also very high risk. They could have a lot of high stress. They would have investors, but then they can get a huge exit and they're going to be way more richer than whatever my net worth is right now. That was not an approach that I wanted to take. The second was you could keep growing the agency business. You could keep hiring employees. You could keep getting clients. But I felt I was on a treadmill, and the stress that was coming with it, I was not willing to take it. It's just me. It didn't work for me. So the clarity that I got is I wanted to work with fewer clients. I wanted high value clients. I wanted to focus on those projects, go deep into the work, and I wanted freedom of location, right? So there are three forms of freedom: freedom of time, freedom of location, freedom of money. Freedom of location was the easiest to get. So you didn't need a lot of money to get freedom of location. As long as you can make money remotely, you can get freedom of location. Someone who gets a remote job already has freedom of location. So that's my phase two. And this is the time that I actually started SIPs and actively managed mutual funds. Now I don't do this anymore, but this was the phase that I did SIPs. Now, phase three, 50 lakhs to 1 CR. I hit my first crore in 2020. So remember, I started making money in 2009. So even though I'm going to showcase my journey to 8 crores in 8 years, because that's the period that I really tracked and focused on proper wealth building. But before that, I had a lot of these learning years. So we should not forget about all of the learning years that have happened. For someone to expect that they can do a similar journey in 8 years, I think it's fair. because now things have changed. There's a lot of AI in the world. There's a lot of access that people have to everything else. There's a lot of systems. I mean, imagine the time when I started my agency, there was no blueprint to start an agency. Now everyone talks about blueprint to start an agency. People have courses that you can buy that teach you how to build an agency. And again, this is not the only revenue stream now. Now there's so much more than you can do. And back then, social media was just a thing picking up, and SEO was the main way to do digital marketing. For different people, different things would work. This is just my journey of how it worked for me. So first Crore I hit in 2020. This is also the phase that I moved from active funds, and I did a bit of swing trading as well in this period. But then I moved from this to index investing because I realized I'm not going to become rich by investing. I'm going to keep my money and let it grow by investing, but I'm going to become rich by making money, which means that I should focus on my revenue streams, which means that I should focus on my skills. And in order to do that, I should be away from investing as much as possible. So even though this is like an investing channel, I just want to stay away from the investing part as much as possible. And that's the flip side of things. The more you stay away from it, the more growth you can see there, because now you are pumping up much more money into the market. So that's phase 3. This is the time when small wins started compounding. I was not trying to beat the market. I was just staying consistent. And index funds really allow me to stay consistent because I don't need to change the fund based on what's performing best this year, what's performing best next year, right? So someone asked me recently, why don't you do something like a long-term stock picking strategy like coffee can investing versus index funds, because you're a smart guy, you can probably research. And my question was like, to be very honest, I don't even think that the CEOs of 8 companies will know where those 8 companies are going to end up in the next 8 years. That's my honest opinion. The world is changing really fast. Technology is changing really fast. If you were to pick 8 companies and ask the CEOs where they're going to end up in 8 years, I don't think they will have the right answers. So if they don't know, I don't know. If I don't know, and most of the active fund managers fail to beat the index, then I don't want to get into that game. So I just want to invest consistently in index funds. And that's my logic, because I don't want to focus on the market. And in 2020, I got married. I started focusing more on my relationship, planning my family. When I was 30, I really had a motivation to focus on my health, because before that, I had not really focused on my fitness journey as such. So I started caring about my nutrition, my workout routines, my sleep. So 30 is when I started focusing a lot on my health. Phase 4 is 1 to 3 CR. This was the time I honestly didn't even know when this happened. The momentum was with me. This is the time I bought a house, because after we got married, I realized we need to buy a house. Now, if someone would ask me a question about buying a house versus renting, there is no right answer. It just depends on you. This is an emotional decision. No matter how much you run the math, people will decide this emotionally. So for me, I bought this apartment in Vietnam. We live in Vietnam. This was a conscious decision. We wanted to live in our own house. I also started building new income streams in this phase. And I hit my 3 crore milestone, I would call it, not a goal, in 2022. And honestly, it just felt normal. The first crore was the most exciting time. And since then, it feels normal and it gets faster. So this is something that I actually reflect on. And I would have never thought this way when I was making my 0 to 10 lakhs. On that journey, I would have never thought that it's going to feel this way now. So that's something that I can share from my experience. Now, everything became a process. And this is what I was talking about earlier. The crores now became milestone. Now, I didn't have a goal. I always had the goal of the first crore, I'm not going to lie. But after that, I didn't have a goal of 2 CR or 3 CR. And then because I was goalless, I basically made a goal of 100 crores. And the reason I made a 100 crore goal, because now it's a game, right? Now it's a process. Now I'm playing by the rules. I know kind of the rules of making money, the rules of growing money, the rules of investing, just playing by the rules. The 100 crore number, and I've made a video on this, how I'm going to hit 100 crores of net worth. And I invite all of you to follow my journey on this channel, because I'm going to document the entire journey to 100 crores on my videos. And I'm going to share everything transparently, right? So if you watch my investing videos, you'll see that I actually share my screen, I show my account, and I show exactly what I invest in. I practice what I preach, and I make mistakes. There are a lot of things in my portfolio that I've pointed out and said, these are mistakes, I wouldn't repeat that again. So I spent a lot of time swing trading, around 6 months to 1 year. It's not a lot of time, but still I would have saved that time building my business, getting one more client. That would give me a lot of money to just put in the index. So there's of course mistakes that we make on the journey, and I'm going to continue to make mistakes. I'm quite sure I'm going to continue to make mistakes. But that's why this channel is going to be transparent and just share exactly what I'm doing. So this is also the phase my focus started shifting to delegation and automation, because my daughter was born in this phase, and I started to focus on parenting because naturally I got aligned to parenting. I'm a very hands-on father. I want to spend a lot of time with my children. So I started delegating and automating. So whatever could be automated, I would automate that. Next step, whatever can be delegated to other people, which cannot be automated, I would assign it to other people. And then whatever is left out, I would execute it. The amount of work that is left is less than 20% of the entire work on my business. So this is how things happened from 3 crores to 8 crores. This phase was the fastest. This happened really fast within the last 3 years. And it was the easiest phase. Now, a lot of people talk about stock picking and generating these many returns and that many returns. The question that I have is, what's the amount of time that you can consistently keep doing this, and how long would you like to keep doing this? Because I'm going to invest forever. I'm going to pass on my portfolio to my children. If you were to spend your time stock picking, buying and selling for the next few decades, what would be the CAGR return that you could generate? Now, these 3 years, the CAGR is 40 to 45%, and it's not from investing, it's from growing my business. So the amount of returns that you can get by focusing on your skills and income are always going to beat the amount of results that you can get from investing. If you have no skills, you start building skills, you're going to see 100 to 100% returns because you had no skills in the past. But now as you improve skills, you add AI, for example, to your stack of skills. Now you have efficiency on your side. Maybe now you're improving 40 to 50% per year. It's much better than spending time in the stock market. So this was my phase 5, the last phase that we're going to talk about. This is also the time that I added a rental property, and it's a sea facing. This is the property that I added, which is now generating consistent rental income. Again, in Vietnam, the rental yield here, specifically in the city where I am, is higher. And I've made a separate video about this city, Vung Tau, how I live my life, what a day in my life looks like. It's officially part of Ho Chi Minh City, but it's a little far from the airport, around 2 hours. Now they are building an airport nearby. They're going to switch to this airport as the main international airport. So the property prices of these apartments have really bumped up in the last few months. Okay, next we're going to talk about the current portfolio split. So right now, around 54% of my net worth is in equity, around 21% in real estate, which is this house and the rental property. There's around 14% is the business account, which I keep in NASDAQ 100 essentially. Then there is cash. This is mostly in INR, Vietnam dong, Singapore dollars, US dollars, and that's because I have different bank accounts across. So these are the things that I track monthly. I have my net worth tracker, which I'm going to share a link in this video so you can use that. Assets minus liabilities, my income by different revenue streams that I have, and my expenses, both personal and on the business side. So the biggest lesson that I had from tracking my net worth is wealth is what you keep, not what you make. And this sounds very obvious, but from 2009 to let's say 2017, I didn't know what I stood for. I did not know what my net worth was. When you track something, you can improve it. Second, multiple streams help, but first you should focus on your winning revenue stream. You might test a few things and it fails. My income stream, which was freelancing turned into an agency, was my winner income stream. I just focused on that until I hit my first crore, right? And after the first crore is when I tested different kinds of things. Now, the first crore is the hardest, and do watch that video, why it's the hardest and how compounding hits after that. Now, compounding is always there. Yes, compounding starts at 1 lakh, 10 lakh, any amount. If you start investing now, you basically start compounding your returns. But it shows up only in the long period of time and when the amount is higher. So if you have invested 1 crore, you're going to see the benefits of compounding because the 10% on 1 crore is going to feel real compared to a 10% of, let's say, 1 lakh. That compounds every year and actually feels real. Now, the next thing is I stayed invested, not just invested. There were a lot of these dips and crashes and ups and downs. The important thing is that you can stay invested. There's a lot of people who ask me, for example, about the quant mutual funds. And 2 or 3 years ago, people were commenting, why don't you invest in quant? Now they don't ask anymore because they've sold out because it's not performing that well. The problem is you buy some funds, next year you buy different funds because people tell you, now this is the best fund of 2024, this is the best fund of 2025. For me, that doesn't distract me because I invest in the index. So there's far more real behavioral consequences of index investing, which people often overlook just because they say, oh, you're just going to get the index returns. Yes, that's fine, but returns is not the most important factor. The most important factor is time. Time is in the exponent. If you look at the equation of compounding, if you understand compounding mathematically, you'll see that time is going to give you the best growth and not the percentage returns. Because sticking to a strategy that gives you high percentage return is much harder than sticking to index investing, right? Next, let's talk about asset allocation, because this is something I've built a diversified portfolio, which I feel is much more important than stock selection. You'd rather build a diversified portfolio with some of your money going into the stock market in the form of index, and then focusing on, okay, where can I pick some real estate, where can I pick some gold, where can I pick other forms of investments. So just building a diversified portfolio will help you season through the ups and downs, and it also again allows you to stay in the long. Now it's better to review your net worth on a monthly basis than check your stock market portfolio on a regular basis, because your real focus should be building wealth and not returns. Now this is a subtle difference which I think that a lot of people forget to focus on. And some people tell me, I don't have that much money like you, so I can't do index investing because I really want to get returns from stock market. And I would say in that case you should focus even more on returns, but not the stock market returns. Focus on business returns, focus on building a side hustle that gives you return. Let's say, for example, you get a freelancer client. Let's say you make 50,000 rupees a month and you get a freelancing client for 25,000 rupees a month. Now you're seeing a 50% return already. So building skills and getting returns from your skills would be your main focus. If you have less money, if you have more money, then all the more you should just focus on diversification and index investing, because you now know how to make more money, which is where you should then spend your time and energy. So I honestly see no case of picking stocks unless that's what you do professionally. Next, freedom is the goal, not the money. The money means much less than the freedom it gives me. For example, I'm taking this year as a break again, right? I took a break from 2016 to 2017. This year I'm taking a break again because my son is less than 1 year old. I want to focus on parenting. I'm not taking any client projects this year. I'm working less than 4 hours a day, and I'm working on different things that just give me joy. It's the money that I have in my net worth that has given me the freedom, and the freedom that I've got is way more important to me than that amount, because I don't have a lot of wants. I don't know how I will spend this money, and I will not spend this money. So what has this given me then? It has given me the freedom, and that's the real goal that I was chasing. The next point is comparison is the thief of joy. So if you look at anyone else, whether it's the percentage returns, which stock they bought, which stock they sold, at how much profit, etc., that's going to steal away your joy. You don't want to chase more money. Instead of that, what you want to chase is your enough number. So define your enough number. I'm going to make a separate video, so do subscribe so that you can get notified about that video. Turn on the notifications as well. I'm going to make a video about how to define your enough number. Some people call this the financial freedom number. I can show you how that calculation worked and what I learned in that process. So if you do want to watch that video, please leave a comment in this video so that I know that enough people want to see the enough number video. The next point is about the long game. So net worth is a 10-year game. You cannot chase get rich quick kind of schemes and consistently do that for 10 years. So instead of that, think of what you can do for 10 years and stop expecting quick results. Now, this is just an observation that I want to share, that what feels slow now will feel very, very fast later, right? So my first 10 lakhs was the hardest so far. And my last 1 crore, I honestly don't even know when that happened. That was the easiest that I made. Calmness multiplies wealth. I get a lot of comments, and I do want to thank everyone for that everything was explained calmly in an effective way. I like to build very simple systems around whatever I do and just stay calm. Unfollow this market news and social media noise and all of that. The less content you consume about short trends and the more content you consume about long-term games and system building, I think the more calm you will get. And the more calm you will get, honestly, I feel in the long run, that's going to help you much more than quick trends. So we have a lot of future milestones coming up. We've got the 10 crore, which is going to be the next big milestone, 25, 50, 75, all the way to 100 crores. So my goal is to just share everything on this channel. I feel the journey has just begun. So do subscribe if you want to watch more videos and follow along on this journey. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments if you want to share anything with me. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.